Hello, really great to be here. My name's Matt Tyndale. I'm the head of Enterprise for Marketing Solutions across the APAC region. And today we've got Debosmita here, who is the CMO for WeWork. So really good to have you here.
Thank you very much, and I'm very excited to do this.
So today we wanted to really sort of touch on the evolving role of the CMO. We've recently conducted a B2B marketing benchmark report, and one of the sort of key findings that came out of that was the evolving role of CMO. So a few things around marketing's elevation around C-suite, in particular about the importance of driving revenue, very important business outcomes. We saw that CFOs around the world as well had confidence in marketing's ability to drive revenue, which we know is one of the most important parts of any business. Really interesting to find out if this is what you're seeing as well.
I totally agree with this, and I'm glad the CFOs of companies are recognizing this. So I'd say, over the last decade especially, the role has really evolved because typically the three key responsibilities of a marketer would be brand building, ensuring efficiency of advertising, and market research. Typically these broad things, right? But over the years, with the changing behavior of customers in terms of how they buy, how they interact with product, I think one of the large shift has become that a CMO is actually also a chief customer officer. They are the voice of customer in an organization. They drive the kind of communication that needs to be tailored in different touch points of the organization, everywhere that they're communicating with the consumer. And talking about revenue, I think with the advent of internet and, different segmentation of customer, different distribution, different platforms, today, what marketing does, you actually can measure the impact that it's making. So it's not about, a subjective view on a great creative that a marketer has put out, but it's really about the great impact that a marketing is doing through numbers, through creativity, generating demand for the product, and doing a very good mix of a pull and a push, because historically, it's very promotion-led, right? Like marketing would be about pushing out communication, pushing out discount, pushing out things that the brand wants to tell. Now it's not about telling. Now it's about engaging, communicating, keeping a two-way communication going, and truly, truly win the mind space of a customer, because the world is filled with advertising. Every second, the customer is thrown with so much information. How do you stand out and how do you win that? I think that is also a very critical piece.
Very interesting. You mentioning a whole array of different responsibilities, almost skills that CMOs have to have these days. And it is very interesting from creativity, strategy, measurement, technology, analytical skills. It's certainly changed and evolved. What are the skills that are critical to a CMO these days?
There are few I'd point out. There are multiple, but then I'll just point out few. First being business orientation, right? Because sometimes marketing tend to work in a silo because they're putting out creative stuff. They're not really attuned to where the business is going, what the goals are. So to able to understand everything a marketing person is doing has to tie back to the overall organizational business goal. The second thing becomes about tech, because everyone is using a lot of tech to be able to adopt new ways of doing things, to be able to drive efficiency and optimizing every resource that they have becomes very critical. Third aspect, I think creativity is always in the heart of marketing. I mean, how much ever of a revenue driver it becomes, how much ever innovative it gets. Creativity is what differentiates a brand from another, gives its distinct voice, right? So I think creative mind, creative problem solving is the third one. And the fourth is more about mindset, because I think somebody who may not have come with a glorious degree from probably an Ivy League university, but if the person has the passion and love for the brand, I think they can do magic. So I think that's also a very critical quality. I think that works.
It's interesting you say that, because we know that there's a lot of companies are really focusing on skills-based hiring. Degrees, qualifications, still very, very important, but the skills that are required for the role, that's what people are really employing for these days as well. And brand being at the heart of a long-term driver of growth, at the heart of brand is often creativity. So I can certainly see why that's really important. So when you hire for sort of talent in your organisation, what are the skills? I know you've mentioned a few of them there. What are the sort of, maybe the 2 or 3 that are critical for you for success?
Because even in marketing, right, there are different aspects.
Yeah.
So if I'm hiring for someone to do media, like, to running ads, I would look at absolute technical skill of understanding how each of these platforms work. How do you really get the best out of them? How are you able to measure the return on investment and constantly see growth? But at the same time, if I'm hiring someone for the creative team, I would look at, how attuned they are with the new trends. Are they able to bring it back to the brand and see how that can be married together, coming up with absolutely groundbreaking ideas, and has the risk appetite to put it out and share it in a larger forum. And like I said, at the heart of it, it's about how passionate you are as a marketer, as a brand person, to go out there and do great stuff.
Sure. I think at the heart of passion as well comes this real desire to continually learn and evolve.
Yeah.
It's so critical in any role, but I think especially in marketing, because it is constantly transforming with technology, different brands, the way of working, measurement. So if you're not passionate about learning, evolving and transforming along with it, then really it's hard to perform in that marketing role. Really important. Are there any sort of key challenges that keep you up at night at the moment, or marketers in general that you think are there?
I think whenever there is a budget cut in any situation, I think that gets you to think more, because you still have to be out there. You still need to market your brand. But how do you do it creatively? Look at, your existing resources and how can you use it? And I think other thing is, today with the evolving roles, sometimes setting expectations from a marketer gets a little difficult, right? So to be able to set very clear expectation of what is the short-term impact that the marketing team is bringing, what is the long-term impact the marketing team is going to do, because not every time is going to be about generating revenue. That's just going to be a part of it, right? Yeah. So you're creating value for the brand and the company, both from a short and a long-term perspective. Today, we might have tools to measure the short-term, output, but the long-term one still quite, I think, is hazy, because you may not be around to see the kind of work you might have done for a brand few years back, right? And so I think to be able to recognize that some of marketing will always be intangible, but it has ton of value for everyone to recognize.
The necessity, but also the recognition that marketers more and more are speaking the language of the CFO. Do you think that's important to speak about, not just awareness or brand metrics, which are very important, but also profit, margin, price, and really speak that language and how marketing aligns to it?
See, one is to understand it. So sometimes if a marketer is able to understand it, I think half the battle is done. But I think sitting in a boardroom and having discussion with the rest of the team, if you can't speak the language, you might feel left out. So it's just for the benefit of the marketer to be able to pick that up. But I think more than speaking the language, it's really about understanding the business dynamics of those things, how pricing is affecting, how the market is doing, why are we priced a certain way, what is the goals, the revenue, the EBITDA, because at the end of the day, marketing is still a spending department, right? So if you're going to affect the EBITDA of the company, you got to be conscious of that too. So understanding the top line, bottom line, where it all fits is very critical to understand. To speak about it, to be able to adopt is you feel more belonged, but it's more about understanding, I'd say.
Very true. And always articulating and having people understand that marketing is a revenue driver rather than a cost center. I think that's at the heart of what we want to see everywhere. Hey, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Great insights into the evolving role of CMO. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I enjoyed this chat.